Milo adjusted his backpack as he stepped out of the small research plane. The air hit him like a warm, wet blanket. The hidden jungle sprawled ahead, thick with green leaves and twisting vines. He had never seen anything so dense, so alive. Milo had studied jungles from books, analyzed maps, and read every report he could find, but nothing compared to standing at the edge of this untouched world. The sunlight struggled to reach the ground through the canopy, and the distant calls of strange birds made the place feel alive and mysterious. Waiting near the landing spot was a young woman, tall and confident, with a broad hat shading her face. She held a long wooden staff in one hand and smiled slightly. "You must be Milo," she said. Her voice was steady, calm, and carried a hint of amusement. "I'm Nora. I'll guide you through the jungle. It's not a place for guessing. Every step counts." Milo extended his hand politely. "Thank you for helping me. I hope I can keep up." Nora raised an eyebrow. "Most people don't. I hope you're ready for more than just maps and notes." Milo smiled nervously. He had always believed science could solve everything, that preparation could prevent danger. But looking at the tangled paths ahead, he wondered if he might be overconfident. They set off together, the sounds of the jungle wrapping around them. Birds sang in the distance, insects buzzed near the undergrowth, and somewhere far away, a river roared like a hidden secret. The heat was intense. Milo felt sweat forming along his forehead and realized that the jungle demanded more than knowledge, it demanded stamina, awareness, and respect. After walking for a few hours, they reached a narrow, swinging bridge made of wood and rope. The bridge spanned a deep ravine, the bottom hidden under thick vines. The sight made Milo's stomach tighten. "How do we cross that?" he asked, pointing at the shaky structure. Nora smiled, a spark of mischief in her eyes. "Carefully. Step by step. Trust the bridge, and trust me." Milo swallowed and followed her onto the bridge. The wood creaked under his weight, and the rope swayed with every movement. He gripped the ropes tightly, glancing down at the steep drop below. Nora walked ahead with ease, as if the bridge were solid ground. She turned back once, her eyes encouraging. "Keep going. You're doing fine." Step by step, Milo forced himself to move, feeling the rhythm of the jungle beneath him. His fear slowly gave way to focus. The bridge felt less like a threat and more like a challenge. When they finally reached the other side, he let out a long breath. "I made it," he said, laughing nervously. Nora grinned. "See? Not so impossible after all." As they continued, Milo realized how much he relied on her instincts. While his knowledge of plants and science helped identify edible fruits or track wildlife, it was Nora's skill and confidence that kept them safe on treacherous paths. Slowly, his admiration grew. There was something about her calm in danger, her quiet confidence, that he found intriguing. By late afternoon, the sun dipped lower, turning the jungle golden. They set up a small camp near a stream, the water cool and clear. Milo washed his face, feeling relief as the water ran over him. Nora prepared a simple meal over a small fire, her movements smooth and practiced. "You've been through jungles before?" Milo asked, trying to make conversation. Nora nodded. "Yes. But this jungle, it's different. Hidden paths, bridges that only show themselves to those who notice. You have to be aware, not just strong. And sometimes, you have to trust people." She looked at him meaningfully, her eyes reflecting the firelight. Milo felt a warmth he couldn't explain, something more than just the heat of the jungle. As night fell, the jungle came alive in a new way. Crickets chirped, distant animals called, and the shadows of the trees seemed to move with a life of their own. Milo lay on his back, staring at the dark canopy above. He realized that this journey was already changing him. Not only was he learning about the jungle, but he was also learning about trust, courage, and the strange, quiet pull he felt toward Nora. For the first time in his life, Milo understood that some lessons could not be learned from books. Some lessons required stepping into the unknown, taking risks, and walking carefully across a swinging bridge, with someone beside you. And in that moment, as the jungle's hidden noises wrapped around them, Milo felt the adventure truly begin. The next morning, the jungle greeted Milo and Nora with a chorus of chirping birds and the soft hum of insects. The sun pierced through the thick canopy in scattered beams, turning the leaves golden. Milo rubbed his eyes, still tired from the previous day's trek across the first swinging bridge. The heat already made his shirt stick to his back, and he realized that surviving in this jungle required constant energy and alertness. "Ready?" Nora asked, adjusting her hat and looking over the path ahead. Her eyes were sharp, scanning for any hidden dangers. Milo nodded, adjusting his backpack and trying to match her confidence. The path narrowed as they moved deeper into the jungle. Massive roots twisted across the ground like natural barriers, and vines hung from above, making every step a careful choice. Milo tried to follow Nora's pace, but she moved like the jungle belonged to her. "How do you know where to step?" he asked, struggling to keep up. Nora smiled without looking back. "You learn. You watch. You feel the ground. And sometimes, you just trust your instincts." They reached a small clearing where wildflowers of bright red and yellow grew around a fallen log. Milo stopped to take notes, fascinated by the unusual plants. He leaned close to examine a flower with thick, waxy petals. "This might be a rare species," he whispered, excitement in his voice. Nora watched him with amusement. "You're always chasing your notes. Sometimes you forget the jungle isn't just about science, it's about experience." Milo chuckled. "And sometimes I forget to trust people." He looked at her, realizing how much he had relied on her the previous day. Crossing the bridge had been terrifying, but Nora's confidence had kept him steady. As they moved on, the jungle grew denser, and the heat became almost suffocating. Sweat dripped down Milo's face, and the air felt heavy. Nora, on the other hand, seemed unaffected. She moved with steady steps, pausing only to check the map she carried. "Almost to the river," she said, pointing toward the sound of rushing water. "There's another bridge there. It's old and narrow, but it will get us across." Milo's stomach tightened. He had faced one swinging bridge yesterday, and the thought of another made his heart race. "Do we have to cross it?" he asked. Nora laughed softly. "It's the only way. And don't worry, you'll do fine. Just watch your step and trust the ropes." When they reached the river, Milo's jaw dropped. The bridge was thinner than the last, with gaps in the wooden planks and ropes fraying at the edges. The river below churned with white foam, and the height made Milo's knees weak. Nora stepped onto the bridge without hesitation. "Come on," she said, glancing back. "Take it slow." Milo took a deep breath and followed, gripping the ropes tightly. Each step made the bridge sway dangerously, and the roar of the river seemed to echo in his ears. Halfway across, a plank creaked loudly, making him freeze. Nora reached out and gently steadied him. "You're okay. Just keep moving." When they finally reached the other side, Milo let out a long sigh of relief. That was worse than the first one. Nora grinned. You survived. That's what matters. They walked along the riverbank, and Milo noticed how Nora moved effortlessly through the thick vegetation. She pointed out edible fruits and rare plants, explaining their uses with quiet confidence. Milo found himself listening more than he spoke, impressed by her knowledge and calm demeanor. The jungle was dangerous, but with Nora beside him, it felt manageable, even a little exciting. As the afternoon passed, dark clouds gathered above, and a sudden rainstorm began. The rain fell in heavy sheets, soaking them instantly. Milo shivered, but Nora seemed unfazed. She led him to a sheltered spot under a large tree, where the thick canopy kept them mostly dry. They huddled together, sharing a small space as the rain pounded the jungle around them. You're lucky this tree is so big, Milo said, trying to sound casual, though he couldn't hide his admiration for Nora's resourcefulness. Nora smiled. Luck has little to do with it. Experience and observation do. She glanced at him, and for a moment, Milo felt a strange warmth in her gaze, different from the heat of the jungle. They sat in silence for a few minutes, listening to the rain. Milo realized that this journey was already changing him. He had come to study plants and collect data, but he was learning something else too about courage, trust, and the quiet strength of a person who knows the jungle like a part of herself. When the rain finally eased, they packed up and continued, the jungle glistening under the wet leaves. Milo felt a new sense of respect and connection with Nora. She wasn't just his guide, she was a partner in this adventure, and slowly, he understood that the jungle had a way of bringing people together not just through danger, but through shared discovery and trust. By the time the sun began to set, Milo and Nora reached another small clearing. They set up camp near a stream, the water cool and inviting. Milo washed his face and looked at Nora, grateful for her guidance and companionship. The day had been exhausting, but it had also brought them closer. As the jungle settled into the quiet of the evening, Milo realized that crossing the jungle wasn't just about reaching the destination, it was about learning to rely on someone else, and maybe, just maybe, starting to care. The morning sun barely touched the jungle floor when Milo woke to the soft sound of running water. He rubbed his eyes and looked around. Nora was already awake, inspecting the area near the stream. She moved with quiet confidence, checking the ground for signs of safe paths and hidden dangers. Milo admired how natural she seemed in the jungle, like she belonged there. "Good morning," he said, trying to sound cheerful despite the lingering fatigue from the previous day. "Morning," Nora replied with a small smile. "We have a long day ahead. The next part of the trail is tricky." Milo nodded, adjusting his backpack. He felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. He had faced 2 bridges already, but the jungle seemed determined to test both his courage and his trust in Nora. They followed the stream, which wound through the thick foliage like a silver ribbon. The jungle was alive around them, birds called from the canopy, insects buzzed, and somewhere in the distance, a small animal rustled through the undergrowth. Milo noticed details he had missed before: the unusual shapes of leaves, the way vines wrapped around tree trunks, and the rich, earthy smell after yesterday's rain. After a few hours, the path narrowed sharply, ending at the edge of a steep cliff. Below, a fallen tree stretched across a deep ravine, acting as a natural bridge. Milo's stomach turned as he looked down. The drop was dizzying, and the log looked slippery from the rain. "Is that safe?" he asked nervously. Nora studied the log carefully. "We have to cross it. Take it slow. Watch each step. And trust me." Milo took a deep breath and stepped onto the log. It wobbled slightly under his weight. Nora followed behind him, steady and sure. Halfway across, Milo slipped on a wet patch, his heart racing. Nora's hand shot out and caught his arm. "Careful," she said. "I've got you." Milo froze, gripping the log tightly. The rush of fear was intense, but he realized he wasn't alone. With Nora's steady presence beside him, he took another careful step. And then another. Finally, they reached the other side safely. Milo let out a long sigh, relief washing over him. "You did great," Nora said, smiling. "See? You're stronger than you think." Milo smiled back, feeling a warmth that had nothing to do with the jungle heat. "I couldn't have done it without you." As they continued their trek, the heat became heavier, pressing down on them with every step. Milo noticed how Nora seemed unaffected, her movements smooth and deliberate. She paused occasionally to point out edible fruits or plants with medicinal value. Milo listened intently, learning not just about the jungle, but about her knowledge and experience. By midday, they reached a narrow gorge. A hidden bridge spanned the gap, barely visible under thick vines. Milo hesitated, his palms sweaty. "Another bridge," he muttered. Nora gave him a reassuring look. "Yes. But this one is short. You'll be fine." The bridge was tricky. The vines made it slippery, and the narrow planks required careful balance. Milo focused on every step, trusting Nora's guidance. When he looked down at the rushing water below, fear surged again, but Nora's calm presence reminded him to breathe. Step by step, they crossed together, and Milo felt a rush of pride and exhilaration when they reached the other side. After crossing, they found a small flat area where they could rest. Milo drank from his water bottle, exhausted but happy. Nora handed him a piece of fruit, her eyes glinting with a hint of playfulness. "You're improving," she said. "Soon you might even outrun me." Milo laughed. "I think I'll stick to not falling off bridges for now." The afternoon passed with more discoveries. Milo identified several new plants, noting their shapes and possible uses. Nora taught him how to read the ground for signs of animals and hidden obstacles. Each challenge they faced together made them more reliant on one another, and Milo felt the beginnings of a bond he couldn't ignore. As the sun dipped toward the horizon, casting golden light through the canopy, Milo realized that the jungle was teaching him more than science. It was teaching him courage, patience, and trust. And in the quiet moments, walking side by side with Nora, he felt something new, an unspoken connection growing stronger with every shared challenge. That night, they camped on a small plateau overlooking a winding river. Milo watched the jungle glow under the moonlight. He thought about the bridges they had crossed, the narrow paths, and the moments when fear and excitement had mixed together. And he knew that this journey, dangerous, hot, and unpredictable, was also bringing him closer to Nora in ways he hadn't expected. For the first time, Milo understood that adventure was not just about the destination, it was about who you shared it with. And in the hidden jungle, with its heat and hidden bridges, Milo felt a spark of trust and friendship that might grow into something more. The morning sun poured through the canopy, painting the jungle floor in golden streaks. Milo yawned and stretched, his muscles sore from the previous day's long trek. He glanced at Nora, who was already moving, scanning the area with alert eyes. She seemed part of the jungle itself, her every step careful and natural. Milo admired her skill and focus, realizing how much he depended on her guidance. "Morning," he called softly, not wanting to disturb the quiet jungle sounds. "Morning," she replied, glancing at him with a small smile. We have a long day ahead. The hidden bridge ahead is tricky, but if we move carefully, we'll be fine. Milo nodded, tightening his backpack straps. His heart raced slightly at the thought of another bridge. The previous crossings had tested his courage, but each challenge had also strengthened his trust in Nora. He realized he had begun to look forward to these moments, not just for the adventure, but because they shared them together. They moved through the thick undergrowth, stepping over twisted roots and ducking under hanging vines. The air was heavy and humid, pressing against their skin, but Milo tried to ignore the discomfort, focusing instead on the jungle around him. Birds sang high above, and somewhere nearby, the rustle of small animals added a sense of life and movement. After a while, Milo noticed that Nora was unusually quiet. She kept glancing at a part of the jungle that seemed ordinary to him. "Is something wrong?" he asked. Nora hesitated for a moment, then shook her head. "Nothing is wrong. It's just, this jungle has memories. Places I haven't visited in years." She paused, her eyes reflecting a faint sadness. "I grew up not far from here. There are stories this jungle holds that most people don't know." Milo was curious. "Stories? What kind of stories?" Nora smiled faintly, as if she were deciding whether to share them. "Some are simple memories. Some are warnings. And some are lessons. The jungle teaches those who pay attention." They continued walking, and soon reached the edge of a narrow gorge. Across it, a hidden bridge stretched, almost disappearing under thick vines. Milo felt his stomach tighten. This bridge was older and narrower than the ones they had crossed before. The river below roared loudly, its waters white and frothy. "Another bridge," Milo muttered nervously. Nora studied it carefully. "We can cross it, but we must move slowly. Watch each plank and trust the ropes. I'll be with you the entire way." Step by step, they made their way onto the bridge. The vines and planks creaked under their weight. Milo's fear surged, but Nora's calm presence beside him gave him courage. Halfway across, a plank shifted under his foot, and he froze. Nora reached out and steadied him. "You're okay," she said. "Focus on each step, one at a time." Milo took a deep breath and continued, feeling the rhythm of the bridge beneath him. When they finally reached the other side, relief washed over him. "I made it again," he said, laughing nervously. "You're learning," Nora replied with a grin. "Soon you'll move like me." As they walked along the riverbank, Milo noticed something about Nora. Her eyes sparkled with a quiet confidence, but there was also a hint of thoughtfulness, like she was carrying a secret. Milo wanted to ask her more, but he hesitated, not wanting to break her trust. He realized that he was beginning to care about her not just as a guide, but as someone important in his life. By midday, they reached a small waterfall cascading into a clear pool. The heat was intense, and Milo quickly waded into the water, feeling it cool his skin. Nora joined him, laughing softly as she stepped in. "This is one of the few peaceful spots in the jungle," she said. "I used to come here when I was a child." Milo listened as she spoke, feeling honored that she shared this memory with him. They rested by the water, eating fruit and drinking from the stream. The quiet moments allowed Milo to notice more about Nora, how careful she was, how brave, and how her presence made the dangerous jungle feel safer. When they resumed their journey, Milo felt a renewed sense of determination. The bridges and hidden paths were no longer just obstacles, they were opportunities to learn and grow. And more than that, they were moments he could share with Nora. As the sun began to set, casting golden light through the trees, Milo realized something. The jungle was more than a place of adventure, it was shaping him, teaching him trust, courage, and the value of companionship. And walking beside Nora, he understood that some journeys were more about the people you shared them with than the destination itself. In the heart of the hidden jungle, with the heat pressing down and bridges waiting ahead, Milo felt ready for whatever came next. The next morning, Milo woke to the gentle sound of birdsong. The jungle around their small camp glowed golden in the first light, and a cool breeze rustled the leaves above. Milo stretched, feeling the soreness in his muscles from the previous days, and looked at Nora. She was already packing their small camp, moving with quiet efficiency. "Morning," Milo said, smiling. "Morning," Nora replied, returning the smile. "Today, we enter one of the most beautiful parts of this jungle. But it will test both our courage and our patience." Milo felt a thrill of excitement. He had learned to trust her guidance, and the thought of discovering something new with her made his heart race. The jungle ahead promised hidden streams, towering trees, and mysterious paths that few people had seen. As they moved forward, the heat became heavier. Sunlight filtered through the thick canopy, creating patches of bright light amid the shadowed jungle floor. Milo noticed the way Nora stepped carefully over roots and avoided unstable ground. He tried to match her pace, learning from her movements, and found that each step became easier as he trusted her judgment. After a while, they reached a narrow passage where giant ferns and twisting vines grew densely. Beyond it, a hidden path opened to a small clearing with a sparkling stream running through it. Milo's eyes widened. The sunlight made the water shimmer like liquid glass, and colorful flowers framed the banks. "This place is incredible," Milo whispered. He knelt to touch the water, feeling its coolness against his skin. Nora smiled, her eyes softening as she watched him. "Not many people have seen this. I used to come here as a child. It's one of the few places in the jungle that feels truly safe." Milo looked at her, realizing how special this moment was. The jungle was dangerous and unpredictable, yet here it felt peaceful. He could see a different side of Nora, one that was gentle and full of memories. For the first time, Milo felt a deep connection with her, not just as a guide, but as someone he wanted to know better. They sat by the stream, eating some fruit and resting. Milo felt his tension ease, and the earlier heat seemed to fade in the shade of the towering trees. He watched as Nora carefully examined some plants by the stream, noting their shapes and colors. Her knowledge impressed him, but what struck him more was her passion and respect for the jungle. "You really know this place," Milo said. "I've lived with it," Nora replied softly. "The jungle teaches you things books never can. You learn to listen, to watch, and to respect everything around you." Milo nodded, feeling the truth of her words. He realized that the jungle had changed him too. He had started as a scientist focused on notes and data, but now he understood the importance of observation, patience, and trust, not just in the jungle, but in the people around him. As the afternoon passed, they explored the clearing and the hidden paths beyond it. Milo found a rare plant and carefully made a sketch in his notebook. Nora pointed out a fruit-bearing tree and taught him how to harvest it safely. Each discovery brought small moments of joy, and with every shared laugh or careful step, Milo felt their bond growing stronger. When the sun began to lower in the sky, Milo and Nora found a place to set up camp near the stream. Milo cleaned himself in the water, feeling refreshed, while Nora prepared a simple meal over a small fire. They ate together quietly, enjoying the peaceful sounds of the jungle around them. After the meal, Milo watched the way Nora looked at the jungle, her eyes thoughtful. He realized he had begun to notice the small gestures she made, the way she brushed hair from her face, how she adjusted her backpack, and the way her eyes sparkled in the sunlight. For the first time, Milo understood that he cared for her in a way that went beyond friendship. As night fell, the jungle glowed under the light of the moon. Milo and Nora sat near the stream, listening to the water and the distant calls of animals. The day had been exhausting, but it had also been magical. Milo felt a sense of closeness with Nora he had never felt before, a quiet warmth that made the heat of the jungle feel almost comforting. He realized that this journey was more than an expedition. It was about trust, courage, and discovering a connection that went beyond the ordinary. And in the heart of the hidden jungle, with its beauty and challenges, Milo knew that he was not alone. He had Nora by his side, and that made all the difference. The jungle was alive with sounds as Milo and Nora prepared for another day of travel. The sun had just risen, casting long shadows across the dense foliage. Milo adjusted his backpack and looked at the path ahead. Today's challenge was the final bridge, the most dangerous one yet. It was said to sway in the wind, and the river beneath it roared with a force that made the jungle tremble. Nora surveyed the bridge carefully. "This is the last one," she said. Her voice was calm but firm. "It will test both your courage and your balance. Are you ready?" Milo swallowed hard, his palms sweaty. He had faced bridges before, but none like this. The height, the rushing river below, and the narrow planks made him nervous. "I think so," he said, though he could feel his heart pounding. They approached the bridge, stepping carefully over roots and rocks. Milo noticed the rope swaying slightly in the morning breeze. Nora took the first step, moving steadily. She looked back at Milo and smiled. "Take it slow. Watch each step. I'll be right here with you." Milo nodded, gripping the ropes tightly. Step by step, he followed her, feeling the bridge sway beneath him. The river below looked even more powerful than he had imagined, its white foam crashing against rocks. For a moment, fear surged through him, and he froze. Nora's hand reached out, steadying him. "You're okay. Keep going. Focus on the bridge, not the river." Milo took a deep breath and continued, trusting her presence beside him. Each step required balance, concentration, and courage. The bridge groaned under their weight, and Milo could feel the strain in every muscle. But with Nora guiding him, he moved steadily, step by step. Halfway across, a gust of wind made the bridge sway sharply. Milo's heart jumped, and he almost lost his footing. Nora quickly steadied him, holding his arm gently. "You're doing great," she said. "Just a little more." Encouraged by her words, Milo focused on his steps. The fear in his chest slowly gave way to determination. With each careful movement, he realized that courage was not the absence of fear, but the ability to keep moving forward despite it. Finally, they reached the other side safely. Milo let out a long sigh of relief, his legs trembling. Nora smiled at him, her eyes shining with pride. "See? You did it." Milo laughed nervously, still catching his breath. "I couldn't have done it without you." Nora's smile softened. "And you didn't just survive, you grew stronger. That's what matters." They walked a short distance away from the bridge, finding a small clearing where they could rest. Milo sat down, his muscles still shaking, and drank water from his bottle. Nora joined him, sitting beside him quietly. For a moment, neither spoke, simply listening to the sounds of the jungle around them, the rustle of leaves, the calls of distant animals, and the gentle murmur of the river below. Milo realized how much he had changed since the beginning of the journey. The jungle had tested him, pushing him to his limits, but it had also taught him to trust, to observe, and to rely on others. And most importantly, it had brought him closer to Nora in ways he had never expected. As they rested, Milo found himself noticing small details about her: the way she brushed her hair from her face, the confident way she moved, and the gentle encouragement in her voice. His feelings were growing, quiet but steady, like the river that ran beneath the bridge. "Thank you," Milo said softly, breaking the silence. "For guiding me, and for helping me trust myself." Nora looked at him, her eyes meeting his. "You had the strength all along," she said. "I just helped you see it." The sun began to set, casting golden light across the jungle. Milo and Nora packed up their small camp and continued walking, side by side. The jungle, with its hidden paths and swinging bridges, had been challenging, exhausting, and sometimes frightening. But it had also been a journey of discovery, courage, and growing connection. As they walked, Milo felt a quiet happiness. The bridges they had crossed, the challenges they had faced, and the moments they had shared had created something special between them. He knew that the jungle would always hold memories of fear, excitement, and triumph. But most importantly, it would always hold the bond he had formed with Nora, a bond built on trust, courage, and the start of something more. In the heart of the hidden jungle, with the heat pressing down and the river's roar fading behind them, Milo felt ready for the future. Whatever challenges awaited, he knew he would not face them alone. The jungle was quiet that morning, bathed in soft golden light. Milo and Nora walked along the final stretch of their journey, their footsteps careful but steady. The heat pressed down on them as always, but it no longer felt overwhelming. After days of crossing bridges, navigating hidden paths, and facing unexpected challenges, Milo felt stronger, more confident, and more connected to the jungle and to Nora. "We're almost at the edge of the hidden area," Nora said, glancing at him with a soft smile. "Just a short walk from here, and our expedition will be complete." Milo nodded, feeling a mix of excitement and relief. He thought about all they had faced, the swinging bridges, the roaring rivers, the dense heat, and the hidden paths that seemed to appear only when they were ready. But more than that, he thought about Nora. How much he had relied on her guidance, how much he had learned from her courage, and how, during every challenge, he had grown closer to her. As they walked, the jungle opened into a breathtaking clearing. A wide, crystal-clear river ran through it, reflecting the sunlight like liquid silver. Towering trees formed a natural wall around the clearing, their leaves whispering softly in the breeze. Milo paused, taking in the beauty. "It's incredible," he said. Nora nodded, her eyes shining. "Few people ever see this. It's one of the hidden treasures of the jungle. And we made it together." They approached the last bridge, a narrow wooden structure hanging over the rushing river. Milo's heart skipped a beat. This was the final challenge. He looked at Nora, who stepped confidently onto the bridge, her presence calm and reassuring. "You'll do fine," she said. "Just keep your focus, and I'll be right beside you." Milo took a deep breath and followed. Each step made the bridge sway slightly, the ropes creaking under their weight. He focused on the rhythm of his movements, feeling the support of the planks beneath his feet and the steady presence of Nora beside him. The roar of the river below was loud, but he no longer felt fear. He felt determination, courage, and trust. Halfway across, Milo's foot slipped on a damp plank. His heart raced, but Nora immediately reached out, steadying him. "You're okay," she said softly. "Focus, one step at a time." With her guidance, Milo regained his balance. Step by step, they moved across the bridge, their hands occasionally brushing against each other. The connection he felt with Nora grew stronger with every step. When they finally reached the other side, relief and triumph washed over them. Milo laughed, breathless but happy. "You did it," Nora said, her eyes bright with pride. "We did it?" Milo smiled, feeling a warmth that had nothing to do with the heat. "I couldn't have done it without you." They walked to a safe area near the riverbank and sat down, letting the quiet of the jungle surround them. The water shimmered, and the gentle rustle of leaves created a peaceful melody. Milo looked at Nora, noticing the calm strength in her eyes, the easy confidence in her movements, and the kindness in her smile. He realized that the bond they had formed went far beyond friendship. "You know," Milo said, "this jungle, it's taught me so much. About courage, about trust, and about how important it is to have someone beside you." Nora smiled softly, her gaze meeting his. "And I've learned that even the strongest need someone to rely on. We've faced the jungle together, and that matters more than anything else." Milo felt his heart swell with a quiet happiness. For days, they had shared fear, excitement, and triumph. They had faced the hidden challenges of the jungle, and in doing so, they had discovered a connection that neither of them could ignore. As the sun began to set, casting golden light across the clearing, Milo and Nora packed up their small camp. They walked side by side, their steps easy and synchronized. The jungle, with all its challenges and hidden wonders, had brought them together. They had learned to trust, to rely on each other, and to find courage in the most unexpected places. Finally, they reached the edge of the hidden jungle. Beyond lay the open land they had left days before, familiar and safe. Milo looked at Nora, feeling a quiet excitement for what came next. "We made it," he said, smiling. "Yes," Nora replied, her smile warm. "And we did it together." Milo realized that the journey had changed him. He was no longer just a scientist seeking knowledge. He was someone who had faced fear, embraced trust, and discovered the value of companionship. And more than that, he had found someone special, someone who would always be by his side, whether in the jungle or beyond. As they walked away from the hidden jungle, Milo and Nora side by side, the sun dipped below the horizon. The bridges, the heat, and the challenges faded into memory, but the bond they had formed remained strong. And in that moment, Milo knew that every step, every challenge, and every shared moment had led to something truly remarkable, an adventure of courage, trust, and the start of something beautiful between them. The jungle behind them held its secrets, but Milo and Nora were ready to face the world together, stronger, braver, and closer than ever.